Chapter 431 The Clever Enchantress. Upon receiving Zhou Yun's reply, Huang Sui was visibly excited. Even Shen Hong and Yuan Chu looked at Zhou Yun with surprise. They were all surprised that Zhou Yun would agree so easily. After all, Pengyun would not easily interfere with external causes and effects. This time, however, he chose to help Shen Tian. However, Zhou Yun paused, then looked up and stared directly at Huang Sui. Upon meeting Zhou Yun's gaze, Huang Sui trembled. He knew that the conditions for his help were about to be revealed. He could only silently pray that the conditions wouldn't be too harsh. The others also looked over. Once you advance to the immortal realm, you will need to offer 100 drops of immortal level essence blood and 1/10 of your immortal level origin. Alternatively, you can offer a top-grade chaos treasure. You can choose for yourself. The others were immediately taken aback upon hearing this. They were not only shocked by Zhou Yun's conditions, but also by Huang Sui's cultivation level. Even Shen Hong, who had always stayed by Huang Sui's side, hadn't expected this. Senior Huang Sui is actually about to advance to the immortal level. Huang Sui nodded in agreement without hesitation. I am willing to offer my essence blood and source power. Although it will probably take millions of years to recover from the loss of so much immortal power, it was all worth it. As for top-grade chaos treasures, Huang Sui didn't even consider them. You don't need to pay all at once. I can give you 100,000 years. Zhou Yun said calmly. From this moment on, the Pengyun merchant ship will protect Shentian for 10,000 years. I hope you will cherish this opportunity and find the anchor point in the upper realm as soon as possible. Yes. Huang Sui nodded in agreement. When I looked up again, Zhou Yun had already disappeared from the room. Uncle Zhou stepped forward and handed Huang Sui a token. Once you find the world anchor, you can contact me using this token, and I will inform the young master. Thank you. Huang Sui reached out and took it. He didn't consider why Pengyun merchant ship wanted his essence and origin. But given Pengyun merchant ship's capabilities, it wouldn't stoop to such a complicated method to harm him. He doesn't deserve Pengyun merchant shipping's actions. After Uncle Zhou left, Huang Sui looked at the person beside him. You've all heard about what happened just now. Huang Sui slowly spoke. Now what we need to do is to eradicate all the void demons and capture the people from the upper realm. Are you willing to join me? Yuan Chu, Qing Yun, and the Holy Spirit Dragon Emperor did not hesitate at all. They clasped their hands in a respectful gesture. We are willing to contribute our strength to Shen Tian. Shen Hong obediently followed behind Huang Sui. They all knew this was a rare opportunity. If they could truly travel to the great world, it would be an immense opportunity for all the Shen Tian beings. In the City of Desire, the Enchantress and the skeleton were strolling around. Why have you been following me? The Celestial Venerable has already taken Blood Demon to harvest resources. The Enchantress glanced at the skeleton. I'm not feeling well, that's why I'm staying here temporarily. I'm not feeling well either. White Bone whispered. Stop following me. The Enchantress stomped her foot and walked forward. But the skeleton seemed determined to follow her, staying close to the Enchantress. If you don't go to the Celestial Venerable, be careful, he might cause you trouble later. I trust you. The Enchantress was puzzled. She didn't know much about this usually cold and taciturn man. After all, the skeleton usually doesn't say a word and rarely speaks. The two rarely communicated. What do you believe in me? The Enchantress voiced her curiosity. You are a smart person, and Master said to follow smart people. Snort. The Enchantress snorted coldly and ignored the skeleton. She was certainly a smart person, and she did not agree with the Celestial Venerable's decision, feeling that something unexpected might happen. Their time in Shentian is drawing to a close. Perhaps after the auction ends in 10,000 years, they will be able to return to Qingyuan Holy Land. During this period, Mei Nu just wanted to get through it peacefully and didn't want any unnecessary trouble. Moreover, as the Celestial Venerable harvests Shen Tian resources together, All the resources will eventually end up in the Celestial Venerable's pocket. She gains nothing and also bears unexpected risks. She's not stupid. But doing so would definitely offend the petty and narrow-minded Heavenly Venerable. However, the Enchantress no longer cared. Perhaps she had been here before, for the Enchantress unknowingly found herself in a secluded valley. This is where Xie is. He looked at the woman with a gentle smile on her face, chatting casually with the cultivator beside her. The Enchantress walked slowly forward. Welcome. Would you like to order? Xiu sensed someone's arrival, but when she saw the Enchantress, she paused, a complex look flashing in her eyes. Long time no see, the Enchantress greeted first. The woman before me has truly changed. She is no longer a puppet in someone else's hands, but has found her own freedom. Long time no see. Xiu smiled faintly. It's as if everything from the past has vanished like smoke. The enchanting woman casually sat down in front of Xiu, and the two began to chat idly. Actually, the two didn't have much of a grudge. It's simply because we have different positions. Whitebone stood quietly behind the Enchantress, glancing up at Xiu. He naturally knew Xiu. He just couldn't understand the Enchantress. If he hadn't known about their relationship, he might have thought they were the long-lost Pengyun. Oh, so this is Heavenly One True Water. It really works quite well. The enchanting woman praised, holding the Heavenly One True Water. Yes, it has an excellent purifying effect on desire. Xiu smiled and brushed her long hair across her forehead. The Enchantress opened her palm, and 7-colored Daoist energy gathered, forming a 7-colored crystal the size of a thumb. When placed in the Qiani True Water, it reacted as if water and fire were colliding, immediately boiling violently and producing a large amount of mist. After the fog dissipated, both the Heavenly True Water and the 7-colored crystal disappeared. This is the crystallization of my desires. It can make cultivators indulge in desires, but it can also make them refine their souls. Well, the enchanting woman sighed. It's a pity that the City of Desire has no shortage of desire. Otherwise I would like to open a shop like you and live on the Pengyun merchant ship. After seeing Xiu's lifestyle, Mei Nu felt a pang of envy. Perhaps living on the Pengyun merchant ship would be a good choice. Xiu was taken aback. She hadn't expected the Enchantress to possess such abilities. He comforted her, saying, "Actually, it's still quite useful. After all, the aura of desire inside the Pengyun merchant ship cannot be taken away, and there are still many living beings in the entire Shention who haven't entered yet. Moreover, the Pengyun merchant ship is no longer only home to Shention beings. Beings from other worlds also come. They may buy your desire crystals and take them back to their respective worlds to sell." The Enchantress's eyes lit up, and she clapped her hands, saying, "Not bad, you're really smart. I'll give it a try first and set up the shop." The Enchantress slowly rose to her feet. "See you next time, I'm leaving now." Whitebone hurriedly followed, muttering behind Enchantress, "What will I do if you really stay on the Pengyun merchant ship?" Chapter 432. Phoenix Smoke. "Get lost and stop following me." The Enchantress rolled her eyes at the skeleton, then swayed her graceful figure and walked away into the distance. The skeleton, like a persistent plaster, clung tightly to the other side. In the Sea of Mist, Tu Yuan Tianzuan was pursuing Huang Yan. Originally, he intended to go directly to the powerful Shention sect to harvest resources. But just then, a celestial opportunity appeared in the world. But when he arrived, the celestial opportunity had been snatched away by the innate divine phoenix. Tu Yuan had long since given up on the idea of subduing Huang Yan. After all, Huang Yan had advanced to the Earth Immortal realm, which meant she was already capable of barely contending with him. Snort. However, since this place is far from Pengyun merchant ship, he may still have a chance to take down Huang Yan. Golden light radiated from his body, and a phantom golden giant sword floated above his head as he lightly swung his arm forward. The golden giant sword shot towards Huang Yan. Whoosh! The Sea of Mist was dispelled by the sharp sword intent, surging outwards. Sensing the immense pressure emanating from behind, Huang Yan flapped her wings and raised her body, golden divine flames swirling around her as she dodged the attack from behind. Swish, swish, swish. Countless golden rays streaked across the void, and Huang Yan's enormous figure swayed from side to side amidst the numerous attacks. Yo! A sharp cry rang out, and golden blood dripped down. Huang Yan's right wing was pierced by the golden sword light from the source image, causing her speed to drop sharply. Huang Yan paused, turned around and looked at Tu Yuan not far away, standing opposite each other in the void. Golden divine flames spread towards the wound, burning fiercely. The pierced wound was healing at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Hand over the celestial level opportunity and become my divine pet, and I'll spare your life. Tu Yuan was surrounded by immense pressure, and his voice, like thunder, resounded throughout the sea of mist. His gaze toward Huang Yan held an undisguised, burning intensity. His longing for the innate divine phoenix never faded. If one could obtain the other party, the value contained within might be comparable to a chaos treasure. Huang Yan looked at the golden figure with disgust. Everything on Qi Huang Mountain was caused by him. Brother Pengyun is still in a deep sleep, and if he doesn't have a lucky break, he will soon perish. At this thought, golden flames ignited in Huang Yan's pupils. Yo! Accompanied by a cry that penetrated deep into the soul, Huang Yan soared into the sky. With each flap of its wings, golden divine flames gathered, causing the surrounding temperature to rise sharply, and even the mist began to dissipate in all directions. Centered on Huang Yan, the area within hundreds of miles was completely enveloped by golden divine flames. A divine feather, formed from divine flames, floated in front of Huang Yan. Huang Yan stared coldly at Tu Yuan, her golden feathers shimmering with iridescent light. Tu Yuan frowned slightly, knowing that Huang Yan's attack had already locked onto him. Sensing the subtle threat emanating from the attack, they became vigilant. Although Huang Yan's attack wouldn't kill him, forcibly resisting might result in some minor injuries, which was something he didn't want. He still needs to refine his cultivation level so that he can compete for the position of Holy Son after returning to the Qingyuan Holy Land. Be your divine pet? You think you're so great. With a cold voice, Huang Yan suddenly flapped her wings. The golden feather shot towards the source of the image like a sharp arrow. Upon seeing the attack that arrived in an instant, Tu Yuan's body flashed with golden light, his figure blurred, and he disappeared from the spot. Before he could even relax, he heard the sound of something cutting through the air behind him again. The source of the image has disappeared again. He knew that the opponent's attack had locked onto him, and no matter how he tried to dodge, it would be useless. He stood still, sword light emanating from behind him, as numerous illusory golden giant swords converged together. A huge, golden, illusory figure appeared behind the source of the image, standing in the sea of mist, stretching out its massive arm to grasp a golden greatsword. Duantian. Amidst the swirling fog, everything seemed to make way for this single sword strike. The sword light clashed directly with the golden arrow. Bang! The fog surged, and the void shattered. Everything around them shattered amidst the raging sword energy and golden flames. A huge pit appeared here, like an abyss. Humph, pushing your luck. With a cold snort, the golden giant raised his greatsword again and slashed at Huang Yan. He was at the peak of the celestial immortal realm, while his opponent, even as a primordial divine phoenix with extraordinary talent, possessed the strength to contend with a celestial immortal. But ultimately, he had the greater advantage. I'll take this opportunity to add you to my collection. Tu Yuan thought to himself. Huang Yan's eyes sharpened, and flames gathered around her, forming a shield. Numerous golden divine patterns flowed across the flame shield, resembling tiny golden phoenixes. Bang, bang, bang. The fierce attacks kept crashing against the flame shield, while Huang Yan continuously channeled energy into it. Whenever the flame shield cracked, it was quickly repaired by phoenix smoke. Seeing this, Tu Yuan sighed inwardly. As expected of a primordial divine phoenix, its strength is truly astonishing. If you were also at the celestial immortal realm, You might not be a match for it. What a pity. Unfortunately, you are just an earth immortal. The vast difference in your levels of understanding destined you to defeat. The commotion here had already alerted the creatures in the sea of fog. To avoid being caught in the crossfire, they had already scattered, and the intensity of the fight could only be vaguely judged from the swirling mist and the sounds of fighting coming from afar. The battle didn't last long. Huang Yan knew that if it continued like this, she would definitely be defeated. Take advantage of the gaps in the opponent's attack. The flame shield shattered instantly, turning into a sky full of golden flames. Huang Yan's figure disappeared. When it reappeared, its figure was already above the golden Dharma image of the source image. The enormous claws, wreathed in golden divine flames, reached for the golden giant's head. By the time the source realized it, it was too late to react. But he wasn't too worried. Instead, a mocking smile appeared on his face. His golden Dharma form is not so easy to break. It is a top-tier Dharma form within the Qingyuan Holy Land. It is formed from the origin of the laws and a portion of the power of the divine soul. In his mind, Huang Yan might still be injured by the shockwave. Bang! The sharp claws pierced through the Dharma image's head in an instant, as easily as crushing a piece of tofu. Puff! The golden giant dissipated, returning some of the original source and divine soul power to the source. But Huang Yan's attack just now directly injured him severely. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Tu Yuan's eyes were filled with disbelief. How is that possible? How could you do that? But then anger flared in his eyes, his body severely injured, especially as the opponent's attack was aimed directly at his soul. It may take hundreds of thousands of years to fully recover. During this period, their strength will definitely be greatly affected. How can he compete for the position of Holy Son again? Damn it, you deserve to die. An angry roar echoed through the sea of fog, spreading outwards. The creatures hiding in the distance trembled upon hearing this roar. Huang Yan glanced at Tu Yuan indifferently, then transformed into golden light and streaked across the sky, disappearing into the sea of mist. By the time the source of the image tried to catch up, Huang Yan had already vanished without a trace. Chapter 433 Huang Sui makes his move. Image source captured. Phoenix Smoke's aura was faint and ethereal as she weaved through the sea of mist, flying towards the Pengyun merchant ship. She naturally didn't want to let Tu Yuan Tianzuan go, but the attack just now had exhausted all her spiritual power. The god-slaying claw, if it weren't for this divine power I obtained from the Pengyun merchant ship, I might have really been captured by them this time. Huang Yan sighed inwardly. While there are opportunities in the foggy sea, there are also ubiquitous dangers. Unless you are the strongest being, you are likely to become someone else's prey. Suddenly, the fog in front of us dispersed. Huang Yan suddenly became alert, but the other party had already arrived in front of her. Sensing the unfathomable aura emanating from the other party, a hint of fear flashed in Huang Yan's eyes. This group of people were Huang Sui and his companions, who had been drawn here by the battle. The battle raged amidst the sea of mist, its intensity comparable to that of celestial beings. In the entire Shen-Tian realm, only those from outside the realm possess this power. Therefore, when Huang Sui realized this, he immediately rushed here, intending to capture the people from the upper realm and take them to the Pengyun merchant ship. Huang Sui waved his hand, stirring up phoenix smoke, and his figure transformed into a streak of light, rushing away into the distance. Huang Yan had no time to react before she was taken control of by the other party. Aside from the difference in strength, there was also the excessive consumption of energy. The voice of Huang Sui rang in her ears. "Little Phoenix, tell me quickly, where is the person you were fighting just now?" Huang Yan looked up in surprise and met Huang Sui's gaze. After realizing that the other party meant no harm, he relaxed. Looking around, only thick gray fog remained, obscuring the previous battle's energy. "I don't know." Huang Yan shook her head slightly. She doesn't know where to go now. Within the entire sea of fog, living beings could hardly discern directions, except for the Pengyun merchant ship, which they could sense. As long as they were in the fog, no matter how far away they were, Pengyun merchant ships were like a lighthouse, guiding them on their way. Upon hearing Huang Yan's words, Huang Sui frowned slightly. Xian Hong stood beside him and whispered, "Senior, we should leave the grey fog immediately and go outside to block them." Huang Sui nodded gently. "This is indeed the best way." Hearing their conversation, Huang Yan seemed to understand something. "Senior, are you looking for someone from the upper realm?" Huang Yan looked at Huang Sui. "I can help you find them." Everyone turned to look at Huang Yan. Finding someone within the grey fog was no easy task. Huang Yan did not answer, but instead flapped her wings and flew into the void, golden divine flames spreading around her, and her aura spreading outwards. Seeing this, everyone understood Huang Yan's plan. This is an attempt to use oneself as bait to lure people over. A moment later, two figures indeed streaked across the sky. "Where do you think you're going to run this time?" The source of the image looked at the golden phoenix in the void and directly conjured a golden hand to grab at it. He didn't believe the opponent could use that kind of attack again. Such a powerful attack would inevitably consume a great deal of spiritual energy. They could all severely injure him. Even a terrestrial immortal might not be able to fully recover their spiritual power in a short time. His attention was now completely focused on Huang Yan, and he was completely unaware of Huang Sui and the others not far away. Perhaps it was the restriction imposed on living beings by the grey fog that dulled the perception of the celestial venerable of the source. The source of the image is Tianzuan, and now all I can see is Huang Yan's figure. The injuries inflicted by the opponent can only be repaired by defeating the innate divine phoenix. Xue Ming remained respectfully in place, watching all of this. The battle between the celestial venerable of the source and the primordial divine phoenix is not something he can interfere with. Although he was also at the earth immortal realm, he was far inferior to the primordial divine phoenix. When Huang Yan saw Tu Yuan rushing towards her, there was no fear in her eyes. She even suppressed the golden divine flames emanating from her body and quietly looked at him. Upon seeing this, a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. "I can't understand why the other party isn't dodging. Has they given up resisting?" But the next moment, just as the golden giant hand was about to grab Huang Yan, a three-colored light flashed by, and the golden giant hand shattered with a bang, turning into a sky full of golden light. The source of the image was shocked, frozen in mid-air, looking in the direction from which the three-colored light had come. A group of figures could be seen, appearing and disappearing within the grey mist. "Who?" The source of the image became wary and coldly rebuked him. "The three-colored light just now easily neutralized my attack, so my opponent's strength must be no less than mine." The source glanced at the innate divine phoenix quietly floating in the void. No wonder the other party did not resist. It turned out it had helpers. Immediately afterwards, the source of the image was shocked. Could this be a trap? Did they deliberately lure me here? Tu Yuan felt a slight tremor in his heart, realizing that he couldn't stay here any longer. He is still recovering from his injuries and does not want to fight other powerful opponents. Golden light emanated from his body. He intended to use a teleportation technique to leave, but the surrounding space suddenly squeezed in on him, trapping him in place and unable to move. The celestial venerable of the source was horrified, and fear surfaced deep in his eyes. He guessed wrong. The opponent's strength far surpasses our own. In the distance, Xue Ming was also imprisoned, unable to move, only his eyes were moving, filled with terror. The two of them still hadn't figured out what was going on. Its body was dragged into the grey fog. His expression changed when he saw Huang Sui and the others. Looking towards the barren landscape, the only one present was this old man, whose true nature remained a mystery. "It seems this is the person who imprisoned them. Senior, we don't know each other. Why are you arresting us? A person from the upper realm?" A smile appeared in Huang Sui's eyes. "Yes," the source of the image answered instinctively. "That's right. Despite the famine, I'm in a good mood. I found what young Master Zhou needed. Next, all we need to do is completely eliminate the Void Demon clan within Shen Tian, and then we can slowly begin our plan." With the help of the Pengyun merchant ship, we are sure to succeed this time. Huang Yan landed behind Huang Sui and glanced indifferently at the source of the image. Although she didn't know why this senior had captured 2 Yuan Tianzuan, seeing this situation, the other party probably wouldn't be having a good time. This can be considered as personally avenging Qihuang Mountain. Unfortunately, everything is irreversible. The destroyed Qihuang Mountain cannot be restored, and the seriously injured brother Pengyun is still asleep. Seeing that the old man remained silent for a long time, the source of the image became even more flustered. "Senior, I am from the great world. What do you want? Even treasures to advance to the immortal level, I can find them for you." "Humph." Huang Sui laughed disdainfully. A mere celestial being, all he does is boast. He believed that immortal-level treasures definitely existed in the great world, but they were not something a celestial immortal could possess. "I only need one thing." Huang Sui narrowed his eyes, staring intently at the source of the image. Upon meeting Huang Sui's gaze, Tu Yuan felt a tremor in his heart and a bad premonition arose. "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Your origin." Upon hearing this, Tu Yuan's face turned deathly pale. If he loses the power of his origin, he becomes a useless person. No, you can't do this to me." Tu Yuan roared frantically, threatening, "I am a core disciple of the Qingyuan holy land of the great world, possessing a natal soul imprint. If anything happens to me, the sect will immediately detect it. None of you will escape." Chapter 434 Ancient Forces Escape Trapped. Void Demon Clan Annihilated. The source of the image struggled frantically, rendered incapable of thought by overwhelming fear. He couldn't understand how a mystical immortal could exist in such a lowly world. Huang Sui glanced at them, and a beam of spiritual light shone on the two of them. They were instantly sealed away, turning into 2 orbs of light that floated into his hands. As he kneaded the ball of light, Huang Sui's lips curled into a smile. He had long wanted to get rid of these parasites that sucked Shen Tian's blood. In the past, they had to be wary of the power behind the other party, but now they have received a promise from Pengyun merchant ship. No longer needing to worry about Shen Tian's safety, he naturally had no more concerns. Huang Yan looked at the ball of light in Huang Sui's hand, stood up and reminded him. "Senior, there should be 4 people from the upper realm, right? Won't this cause the news to leak out?" "Don't worry." Huang Sui waved his hand. With Pengyun's promise, Shen Tian has nothing to fear. Seeing Huang Sui's calm expression, Huang Yan said nothing more. With the ringleader arrested, the other 2 really can't cause any trouble. Huang Yan had spoken up to remind her because she was worried that the news would leak and affect her senior's plans. "Would you like to travel with us?" Huang Sui turned to look at Huang Yan, a faint smile in his eyes. The primordial divine phoenix, the Shen Tian transformation, it seems they all started with each other. He was awakened from his slumber by the other party's awakening. He never imagined that a top-tier divine beast like the primordial divine phoenix would be born in the Shen Tian world, something extremely rare even in the great world. "I wonder what you're going to do." Huang Yan was also quite curious about this senior's plan. "Let's go." Huang Sui did not explain to Huang Yan, and led everyone away into the sea of mist once again. Time is of the essence now, and the Pengyun merchant ship will protect Shen Tian for 10,000 years. Shen Tian must make good use of these 10,000 years to accumulate strength and usher in a transformation. During this time, the others discussed their plans with Huang Yan. Upon learning of the plan, Huang Yan looked at Huang Sui's retreating figure with a shocked expression. He then realized that this was a huge opportunity, and if he made good use of it, he might be able to quickly gather the resources needed to treat brother Pengyun. A subtle excitement welled up inside me. Within the Shen Tian heaven, Huang Sui led the group to appear in various hells, eliminating the suppressed Void Demon Clan. During this period, many ruins were opened, and many old monsters were freed. After learning about the famine year plan, many people joined in, making the team grow stronger and stronger. The primordial god looked at these ancient predecessors with a rather complicated expression. After all, The demise of Tai Palace was inextricably linked to the coercion of these people. However, in the great battle against the Void Demon clan, Tai Heavenly Palace did indeed cross the forbidden line. The union of the goddess and the prince of the Void Demon clan forced the other factions to view Tai Heavenly Palace with suspicion. They must have guessed that Tai Palace was looking for a way out, or even had already sided with the Void Demon clan. In the end, to prove their innocence, Tai Heavenly Palace led all its disciples to the front line, using the blood of its members to wash away the doubts and clear their names. Now, he is the only one left in Tai Palace. Silently standing behind Huang Sui, the Holy Spirit Dragon Emperor and Qing Yun beside him had already left. They were not originally from Tai Palace. They each had their own factions and were only helping Tai Palace guard the area. Now that their respective forces have returned, they naturally went back. Two forces had the strongest auras, and figures gathered behind them. They were none other than the Dao Yuan Divine Court, the #1 power in Shen back then. The faction to which Qing Yun belongs believes in the principle of all things returning to their origin, and takes heaven and earth and nature as their teacher. The second most powerful force in Shen, the 9 Heavens Cloud Dragon Palace. Clouds surge and roll, encompassing the endless seas, where the Dragon Emperor dwells atop the fierce winds of the 9 heavens. The true dragons that appeared were far superior to those from the myriad dragons sea in terms of both bloodline and strength. Wan Long Hai was created by dragons who had been separated from their ancestors. When facing these real dragons, they could only call them their ancestors. At this moment, the Holy Spirit Dragon Emperor was speaking to his own Dragon Emperor. After listening to Qing Yun and the Holy Spirit Dragon Emperor's accounts, the people from both major forces turned their gazes to the primordial divine child. His brow furrowed slightly. That matter from back then hadn't been thoroughly investigated yet. However, upon seeing Yuan Chu alone and his frail figure, he said nothing more. Once upon a time, the Tai Heavenly Palace was no less powerful than them. The fact that things have come to this point is entirely their own fault. Noticing the gazes of the others, Yuan Chu remained calm, but inwardly he smiled bitterly. At the same time, he clenched his fists and silently vowed, "So what if I'm alone? I will definitely rebuild the Tai Heavenly Palace and make it stand once again atop the Shen peak." He is the divine son of Tai Heavenly Palace. This is his responsibility. At this moment, the group arrived in the western regions. Everyone present was at least at the immortal level, so they immediately noticed the situation in the western regions. Many people were astonished and filled with emotion. The western regions, a sacred land of Buddhist cultivation, I never imagined it would fall into such a desolate state. No surprises, right? If it weren't for Senior Huang Sui's appearance, how much better would our situation be? Yes, perhaps in the end we will all be harvested by the upper realm. I wonder if your plan can be realized in the upper realm? I'd like to go and see. The crowd whispered amongst themselves, looking down at the creatures of the western regions. The general level of cultivation is still in the stage of refining emptiness. Not even a single Mahayana practitioner has been discovered. However, when their divine senses swept over the man and woman, everyone paused for a moment. There are actually 2 Mahayana cultivators and tribulation transcending cultivators here. That tribulation transcending cultivator must be close to advancing to the immortal level. What they perceived were naturally Lin Xiaoxiao and Xiuxian. However, the leaders of Dao Yuan Divine Court and Jiuxiao Cloud Dragon Palace frowned slightly when they saw the blood lotus. The strange aura emanating from the other party disgusted them greatly. It even reminded me of the Void Demon clan. If it weren't for Senior Huang Sui's presence, they would have wanted to kill him outright. In the distance, Xiuxian and Lin Xiaoxiao suddenly looked up at the void, their hearts filled with fear. The feeling of being spied on made him extremely uncomfortable. Grown-ups. Xiuxian shook her head slightly, signaling Lin Xiaoxiao not to speak. Blood Lotus stood frozen in place, and only after a long time, when she realized that the feeling of being spied on had disappeared, did she secretly breathe a sigh of relief. He reached out and patted Lin Xiaoxiao's head, gently comforting her. "It's all right. Blood Lotus looked up at the distant void. He couldn't remember the last time he had experienced that feeling of helplessness. I've become complacent, Blood Lotus muttered to herself. Since Lin Xiaoxiao recovered, he has never left the western regions. He even traveled less frequently on the Pengyun merchant ships. The comfortable life in the western regions eroded his will and gradually made him lose his adventurous spirit. Immortal level. He sensed the immortal level, but he couldn't break through that thin veil no matter what he tried. It was only the fear he felt earlier that made him realize that peaceful cultivation was not the way to break through to the immortal level. His gaze fell on Lin Xiaoxiao. He forgot that he was different from Lin Xiaoxiao. Chapter 435 Cloud Crossing Tribulation. Demon Race Emerges. Bonus Chapter. He was not a special being born from the Xian Tian, but a man-made killing machine. His path was inherently filled with bloodshed and slaughter. It will be more difficult for him than for other living beings, and the suppression of heaven will be stronger for him. Over the years, Lin Xiaoxiao's cultivation speed has surpassed his. The Holy Radiance Moon Spirit, a favored elven being by the heavenly Tao, is far beyond his reach. Call. Blood Lotus slowly exhaled and turned to look at Lin Xiaoxiao. I'm going to the eastern region. Lin Xiaoxiao was taken aback, but didn't ask any further questions. A bright smile bloomed on her face. Wherever you go, I'll go too. His cultivation requires reliance on the origins of Buddhism and Taoism. Even after 10,000 years of recovery, the Buddhist practitioners in the western regions have not fully recovered, and the highest level they have reached is only the refinement of emptiness. These Buddhist and Taoist principles are fundamentally incapable of supporting the cultivation of the blood lotus. To break through to the immortal level, one must go to the eastern region, the current sacred cultivation ground of Shen-Tian. Blood Lotus's eyes flashed with light as she gazed at the horizon. The malice emanating from that spying gaze left him utterly powerless to resist. He doesn't want to go through that again. Only by possessing great strength can one avoid danger. Above the boundless sea of clouds, where golden Buddhist light converged, the clouds churned and thunderous power crashed down. Above the sea of clouds, Wu Ming stood at a distance with a young monk, watching with a worried expression. Master Wu Ming, will Grandmaster Yundu be able to overcome the heavenly tribulation? Wu Ming, hiding his worries, wanted to pat the other person on the head, only to find that the other person was now the same height as him. 10,000 years have passed, and the other person has grown up. Of the 3 children from back then, only this confident and composed child survived, and now he has already reached the refinement stage of cultivation. Don't worry, Master was originally an immortal, but he lost his origin and his cultivation level dropped. He is just recovering now. Liao Chen nodded thoughtfully. However, he did not notice the hidden worry in Wu Ming's eyes. Wu Ming looked down at the gathering of heavenly tribulations, which was the core of the boundless sea of clouds. At this moment, faint roars could be heard, and faint black energy was dissipating. But it seems to be quite afraid of the lightning strikes from the sky, and can only cower on the ground. Wu Ming clenched his fists, knowing that for his master, the heavenly tribulation was not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the Void Demon Clan, which has been poised to strike. Once Master successfully overcomes the tribulation and the heavenly tribulation dissipates, the demon race, which has been gathering strength, will surely launch a counterattack. This is their only chance. Otherwise, once the Master recovers his strength, who knows how long it will take to suppress it. Above the sea of clouds, Huang Sui and his companions arrived. Upon seeing someone undergoing tribulation ahead, he did not go to disturb them, but stayed at a distance. Compared to the famine, the others frowned slightly as they looked at the old monk undergoing his tribulation. This monk seems rather unfamiliar. They must be descendants of Wu Yun Hai. Wu Yun Hai has always had few disciples. They are inheritors of Buddhism and Taoism, not rulers. Alas, back then, Buddhist practitioners played an indelible role in that great war. Yes, they have a great deal of control over the void demons. Boundless Cloud Sea is a special Buddhist force that does not travel in the world or spread Buddhist or Taoist doctrines. They only allow Buddhist practitioners to enter the Sea of Clouds to cultivate at specific times. Spread the Buddhist and Taoist practices you have learned. They are more like the managers of the Buddhist and Taoist traditions. While everyone was chatting, the lightning tribulation in the sky dissipated, and the power of the heavenly Tao descended. Having survived the heavenly tribulation, Yun Du himself was greatly depleted. He should have relaxed and absorbed the power of the heavenly Tao to replenish his losses, but Yun Du's expression was solemn as he stared intently at what was below. Roar! A low, hissing roar sounded. Black energy erupted and spread outwards, turning the golden sea of clouds into black clouds. The sky displayed a peculiar sight, half black and half gold. Black energy surged, and a gigantic demon head materialized, its gaze fixed cruelly on Yun Du. Old monk, you have suppressed my clan for so long. Today I will sever your Buddhist lineage. He he he. An eerie laugh echoed in the surrounding space, and the sea of clouds trembled slightly in response to the voice. Within the black sea of clouds, numerous void demons emerged, their bodies shrouded in black mist. However, their strength is far inferior to that of the leader. Most of them were comparable to Mahayana or tribulation transcending beings, with only the leader being an immortal. Roar! Numerous void demons gazed at the cloud crossing in the sky, carrying billowing black energy as they rushed upwards. Upon seeing this, Yun Du clasped his hands together, and pure Buddhist light emanated from his body, with a golden Buddha phantom appearing behind him. But the next moment, a three-colored glow swept in. The black energy stopped, and many void demons were imprisoned in the void, their eyes filled with deep fear. Only the eyes can turn the head. Yun Du naturally noticed something was wrong and turned around abruptly. Above the sea of clouds, numerous figures appeared out of nowhere, each exuding a terrifying aura that was far beyond his reach. Below, Wu Ming and Liaochen also noticed the newcomers. Seeing that the other party is dealing with the void demons, they probably aren't enemies. At least for now, it seems to be done with good intentions. If it weren't for the other party's intervention, Master might not have been a match for so many void demons, and might have perished today. After hesitating for a moment, he brought Chen to stand behind Yun Du. The three bowed in unison. Greetings, esteemed seniors. Huang Sui smiled and nodded in response, his gaze falling on the void demons. This should be the last batch of void demons in Shention. Once they are dealt with, there will be no more demons in Shention. Oh, I forgot about that guy. Huang Sui was taken aback. The demon emperor was still sealed away by him. The main problem is that it's not easy to completely annihilate the demon emperor, so Huang Sui left him for last. The others looked kindly at Wu Yunhai and his group. Approaching Yun Du, he comforted him. Don't worry, with Senior Huang Sui here, those few little devils can't cause any trouble. Thank you for all these years of hard work. You are the inheritors of Buddhism and Taoism, and the responsibility of restoring Buddhist practices in the Western regions will fall on your shoulders. We will also lend a hand to help you. Looking at the powerful figures surrounding him, Yun Du bowed and thanked them, saying, Thank you all, seniors. He didn't dare to ask where these powerful people came from. There shouldn't be so many immortal-level beings in Shention. These people treated the boundless cloud sea in a completely different way than they treated the primordial divine child. There's nothing we can do about it. Buddhist cultivators truly made invaluable contributions during the Great War against the Void Demon clan back then. The demons below looked at the numerous figures appearing in the void, their bodies trembling slightly, their eyes filled with fear. A beam of three-colored light swept down, covering them all. As the black mist dissipated, the imprisoned void demons were unable to utter a sound. Its form transformed into black mist and was purified along with it. Chapter 436 Demon Emperor, City of Desire. Yun Du looked at the completely dissipated black aura with a complicated expression. Their gaze fell upon the core of the Great Formation seal, where several figures sat cross-legged, their bodies withered and lifeless. They were all guardians of the boundless sea of clouds in the past. If Wu Ming hadn't brought back the Prajna Bodhi heart from the Pengyun merchant ship, allowing him to regain his immortal level strength. Soon, he will also throw himself into the ceiling formation to buy time for Wuming. Wuming will become the new guardian. Now that the Void Demon clan has been wiped out, he can finally relax for a while. The boundless sea of clouds has also found true liberation. Deep within the dim void, in a three-colored cage, sat a dignified middle-aged man with a powerful aura emanating from him and black mist swirling around him. This is truly the Demon Emperor of the Void Demon clan. Suddenly, the Demon Emperor opened his eyes, and a black light flashed past. A sense of unease began to creep into my heart. He focused his senses, his body tensing, his expression extremely grave. What happened? Where are my men? He was able to sense the location of his subordinates through a special method, but now it seems they have all disappeared. It seems something unexpected has happened. He had only recently advanced to the Xiuxian realm and originally planned to consolidate his power for a while before leading his subordinates to devour the Xientian world. But this sudden change made him feel a sense of crisis. Should we contact Minghua first? Let's find out what's going on outside. The Demon Emperor's eyes were full of doubt. He couldn't contact Minghua. This shouldn't be the case. Minghua has his own split soul within him. Moreover, he did not sense any accident to the split soul. If the split soul had been injured, he would definitely have sensed it. Suddenly, the Demon Emperor remembered the message that his split soul had sent back. The Pengyun merchant ship blocked my senses. Only in this situation would he be unable to contact Minghua. He had already learned of the mystery of the Pengyun merchant ship from the split soul. All the changes in Xientian were caused by the Pengyun merchant ship. Damn it! What on earth happened? The Demon Emperor looked anxious, and with a wave of his hand, a streak of black light struck the three-colored cage. A ripple spread across the cage, and the black attack easily merged into it as if a stone had been dropped into water. Only a small portion of the attack's residual force caused ripples on the water. The Demon Emperor watched everything with a gloomy expression. The old tortoise had a magical talent. It could disperse and neutralize his attacks, so that only a small part of his motivation was directed at the cage. Even if he advances to the Xiuxian realm, he can only slowly wear down the energy left behind by the other party. Fortunately, there is a glimmer of hope. Bang, bang, bang. The roar continued, and the three-colored cage rippled in waves. The Demon Emperor knew he couldn't just sit and wait to die. Something unknown must have happened outside. Staying here will only lead to death. Within the City of Desire, near the small hill close to the moon, the enchanting woman was leaning over the counter, where shelves were displayed colorful crystals with varying luster. The skeleton stood quietly against the wall, speechless. Hey, since you have nothing to do anyway, why don't you go out and see how the Celestial Venerable is doing? No, it's dangerous outside. The enchantress glanced at the skeleton, as if she was seeing it for the first time. The other person doesn't seem to be just a big, dumb guy. Her shop has just opened, and the news hasn't spread yet, so not many customers are coming in. The enchanting woman slowly rose and walked outside. He glanced at the skeleton who had followed him and said coldly, "Close the door." Oh. The enchantress rolled her eyes and ignored the bullshit plaster. The two arrived at the square in front of the Black Tower. This is the busiest place, where you can hear a lot of what's happening in the outside world. It's too dangerous. The entire fog sea is in chaos, and many creatures have been killed by the aftershocks of the battle. I heard from the others that it was two celestial beings fighting. Hearing the voice that reached her ears, the enchantress paused. She had a strong feeling that these people were talking about the Celestial Venerable. However, she couldn't guess who the other celestial being was. Yes, golden flames rose up over hundreds of miles of the entire sea of mist, and the cry of a phoenix could be heard. The enchantress's brow furrowed. The phoenix's cry, the golden flames, it must be a primordial divine phoenix. The enchanting woman shook her head slightly. It seems that the heavenly venerable has not given up on the primordial divine phoenix. However, Such an existence as the primordial divine phoenix is indeed extremely tempting. The enchantress understood the celestial venerable's intentions. Competing for the position of Holy Sun was no easy feat. If we could capture the primordial divine phoenix and bring it back to the azure origin Holy Land, receiving the Holy Land's reward might allow one to advance to the immortal golden immortal realm, thus giving them a sliver of hope in vying for the Holy Sun's position. Alas, when immortals fight, it is we who suffer. Actually, as long as you don't enter the fog, you'll be fine. I've never been in it. That's true. Some opportunities are simply not meant for us. The opportunities in the fog sea depend more on luck than on strength. One can perish there if one is not careful. The enchantress strolled through the plaza with the skeleton, and sounds occasionally reached their ears. However, there was no news of what happened after the battle, and it is unknown whether the celestial venerable captured the primordial divine phoenix. Tell me, did the celestial venerable succeed? Have no idea. So, do you hope that the celestial venerable will succeed? I don't want that. The enchantress turned her head and looked at the skeleton with surprise. She hadn't expected that this seemingly honest fellow was not so honest after all. However, that is indeed the case. What is the connection between the celestial venerable's opportunity and theirs? They won't share the opportunity with them. Suddenly, a number of figures appeared not far ahead. Although the limitations of the Pengyun merchant ship prevented everyone from sensing each other's cultivation level. However, the inherent dignity and aura he exudes are unmatched by ordinary people. This group of people were Huang Sui and his companions. Is this the Pengyun merchant ship? It's truly amazing. That's right, I can't use a single bit of spiritual power. If it weren't for the spiritual power still in my body, I would have thought I was immortal. I was a little skeptical when they told me about it before. Xiuxian is really different now. It's all because of Pengyun. Along the way, they had already learned about the Pengyun merchant ship from Shen Hong, Qing Yun, and the Holy Spirit Dragon Emperor. They never imagined that Xiuxian had such a mysterious place. The Pengyun merchant ship was a tremendous opportunity for Xiuxian and for them. Many eyes fell on this group of people, and the enchantress and the bone demon naturally saw them as well. However, their gaze fell on one of the women. The rest of the people they may not know. However, he was extremely familiar with the innate divine phoenix. The fact that the other party appeared here unharmed means that the celestial venerable failed and did not capture the other party. The enchantress and the skeleton exchanged a glance, a hint of a smile flashing deep in their eyes. They did not act in accordance with the celestial venerable, which would inevitably offend him to some extent. If the other party could truly become a holy sun, it would bring them no benefit whatsoever. This situation is perhaps the best it can be now. Chapter 437 The famine year arrives. Memory extraction. Huang Yan noticed the gazes fixed on her and looked towards the crowd. His gaze met that of the enchantress and the skeleton, and he frowned slightly. A sly smile flashed across his eyes. He slowly stepped forward and approached Huang Sui. Senior, why don't we take this opportunity to tell everyone about our next plan? Huang Sui was taken aback, looking at the many Xiuxian creatures in the square. Now that the people from the upper realm have been captured and the Xiuxian world has been hidden by the Pengyun merchant ship, the plan can be implemented immediately, so there is indeed no need to conceal it. Upon hearing this, Shen Hong immediately came over. Senior, let me handle this. You don't need to do it yourself. Huang Sui nodded slightly. Okay. With Huang Sui's permission, Shen Hong slowly walked to the front of the group, his gaze sweeping over the faces of the creatures around him. Fellow Taoists, there is a grand plan coming up, to go to the great world and harvest resources. All beings born in Xiuxian can participate. This is an opportunity for Xiuxian. Upon hearing this, many creatures looked on with confusion. Going to the big world? How is that even possible? Shen Hong took in the doubtful looks on everyone's faces but didn't care. Turning to Huang Sui, he said, Senior, why don't we discuss this with young Master Zhou right here? There are bound to be many conditions for going to the Great World, so we can all hear about them. Huang Sui pondered for a moment and thought it was a good idea. People may still question or disbelieve what they say. But if it's Pengyun merchant shipping that made the announcement, then everyone will surely believe it. Huang Sui took out the black token that Uncle Zhou had given him and crushed it. The token transformed into a wisp of black smoke and disappeared into Huang Sui's palm. Seeing this, many creatures became even more puzzled, feeling that these people were putting on a show. Go to the Great World and harvest its resources? You're kidding me. Although they didn't know what the Great World was like, they could glean some insights from the previous Pengyun auction, where people from the Great World made their moves. People from the Great World can easily acquire immortal crystals. Their resources are unimaginable. Presumably, the realm of beings in the Great World is far beyond what Xiuxian can compare to. They were convinced that these people were deceiving them. Even the enchantress frowned slightly. As someone from the Great World, she was naturally very clear about the gap between Xiuxian and Taiwan Great World. That can only be described as an insurmountable barrier. Moreover, Xiuxian had no way to reach the Great World. Even the only path to ascension has been blocked by the Qingyuan Holy Land. The enchantress shook her head slightly, thinking it was just wishful thinking and nonsense from people in the lower realms. Suddenly, the grey fog surged ahead, and two figures emerged from it. It was Zhou Yun and Uncle Zhou. When Zhou Yun received the message from Uncle Zhou, he was somewhat surprised that Huang Sui had found the people from the upper realm so quickly. However, considering that Huang Sui's cultivation level is comparable to that of an immortal golden immortal, it is also possible. After all, among those in the upper realm, the strongest are no more than celestial immortals. The fact that the famine is in such a hurry suggests that he is eager to begin the plans that are about to commence. In fact, Zhou Yun was also somewhat interested and wanted to see how far Xiuxian could go with the help of Pengyun merchant ship. He stepped forward and stood before Huang Sui, extending his hand. Hand over the person you brought here. Yes, young Master Zhou. Huang Sui took out 2 orbs of light from his pocket and respectfully handed them to Zhou Yun. The other ancient beings all turned their gazes to Zhou Yun. Senior Huang Sui was a Xiuxian being, and even they treated him with such respect, which made them even more curious about Lord Pengyun. However, she didn't dare to look Zhou Yun in the eye, only daring to glance at him out of the corner of her eye. After all, the wonders of the Pengyun merchant ship and senior Huang Sui's attitude had all been witnessed. They no longer dared to act recklessly. Zhou Yun took the ball of light, glanced at the 2 figures inside, and a glint flashed in his eyes. These 2 individuals come from the upper realm, and their primordial power contains an aura unique to the upper realm, making them perfectly suitable as anchor points. Send the spirits of Xiuxian to the upper realm. Zhou Yun looked up and surveyed the scene below, pondering for a moment. Some now understand why plans are being discussed here during a year of famine. Some things are easier for Xiuxian to believe if he says them himself. If someone else said something as absurd as going to the Great World, probably few people would believe it. He tossed the 2 orbs of light in front of him, and Tu Yuan and Xue Ming fell to the ground, still looking somewhat dazed. The creatures below all turned to look, their eyes filled with curiosity at the 2 people who had suddenly appeared. Only among the crowd, the enchantress and the bone suddenly changed color, their gazes fixed on the figures of Tu Yuan Tianzuan and Xue Ming. The 2 looked at each other and saw a hint of fear in each other's eyes. Fortunately, I trusted my intuition and chose to stay on the Pengyun merchant ship, the enchantress thought to herself, secretly relieved. The skeleton standing nearby thought to itself, indeed, one should follow a wise person. If they had left the Pengyun merchant ship with the Celestial Venerable, perhaps they would be like the Celestial Venerable now. They just didn't understand why Xiuxian wanted to capture them. Didn't they know that any mishap to the Heavenly Venerable would bring annihilation to Xiuxian? Moreover, the 2 of them are still here. These mysterious beings were not afraid that they would send the message back to the upper realm. With Xiuxian's strength, even a random immortal golden immortal from Qingyuan Holy Land would be beyond Xiuxian's ability to withstand. He didn't believe that Shen Tianxing was unaware of the disastrous consequences. The enchantress looked at the old man at the head of the group. It was this old man who had taken out the light sphere that had trapped the celestial venerable earlier. Why is the other party so calm, showing no reverence for the upper realm? You can't arrest me. Release me now, and I'll forgive and forget. I'm a core disciple of the Qingyuan Holy Land of the Great World, and the administrator of this world. Ahead, the roar of the heavenly venerable of the source pulled the enchantress back to reality. He looked at Tu Yuan Tianzuan with complicated feelings, a sense of sorrow rising in his heart. He didn't know what to do about his own situation. Behind her, the skeleton was getting closer to the enchantress. He didn't know what to do next. All he knew was to stick close to the enchantress. As for finding solutions, that's something smart people do. All he has to do is follow the smart people. It's noisy. Zhou Yun glanced indifferently at the two people in front of him, and a grey mist condensed, sealing their mouths. Let me extract your memories. Upon hearing this, Tu Yuan and Xue Ming's eyes widened instantly. Looking at Zhou Yun's hand reaching towards his head, his eyes were filled with fear. Two illusory lights emerged from above his head, enveloped in a thin layer of grey mist, and floated in Zhou Yun's palm. After sensing for a moment, Zhou Yun slowly opened his eyes. Taiyuan Great World. Originally, the upper realm directly under Shen Tian was called the Taiyuan Great World. Some of the previous speculations have now been confirmed. All the calamities in Shen Tian were indeed caused by Qingyuan Holy Land. Even when Shen Tian advanced to the Great World, it was Qingyuan Holy Land that sabotaged it. Chapter 438 The Source of the Image Dies. Qingyuan Holy Land. After learning the information from the upper realm, Zhou Yun threw their memories back to the barren years. There are some memories of the upper realm here. You can choose whether to reveal them all or only some of them. Upon receiving the memory, Huang Sui's eyes lit up. Thank you very much, young Master Zhou. He had previously considered probing their memories to learn about information from the upper realm. However, fearing that damage might affect the plan, we didn't do it. This memory is extremely precious to the beings who are about to travel to Shen Tian. It is essentially a map. Their conversation was naturally overheard by the onlookers. Could it be that what that person said earlier was true, and that they really can go to the Great World? The Great World is a place that only ascended immortal beings can go to. Even if they had never been there, they knew that the resources of Doshi Street were far superior to those of Shen Tian. If they could truly travel to the Great World, it would undoubtedly be an incredible opportunity for them. Many creatures became excited, their eyes fixed on Zhou Yun, wanting to know what conditions were required to travel to the Great World. The other creatures hidden within also showed expressions of envy. But they knew that this was an opportunity for the beings of Shen Tian. They had a premonition that Shen Tian might truly undergo a transformation. The news spread quickly, attracting more and more living beings. In the crowd, the enchantress and the bone demon looked at the two people lying on the ground. After losing their memories, Tu Yuan and Xue Ming lay on the ground with a dazed expression, no longer possessing the mind of a normal person. That's terrible. As the enchantress watched all this, her mind raced, searching for a solution. Huang Yan saw the changes in the expressions of the enchantress and the white bone, and felt extremely pleased. Actually, she didn't have many other thoughts about the enchantress and the white bone. The attack on Qihuang Mountain was mainly carried out by Tu Yuan Tianzuan and Xue Ming. Looking down at the mentally impaired Tu Yuan and Xue Ming, he sighed inwardly. Next, we need to go to the Great World to collect resources and exchange them for the treasures needed to heal Brother Pengyun. As for the enchantress and the bone demon, they were no longer a threat to him. With Shen Tian sealed off, the two had nowhere to escape unless they stayed on the Pengyun merchant ship. Let's leave these matters to Senior Huang Sui. Perhaps these two can serve some other purposes as well. Ahead, Zhou Yun pressed his palm down. The surrounding grey mist pressed in on the two of them. Hong! The two instantly turned into dust, leaving only two wisps of immortal-level essence, which drifted towards Zhou Yun under the grey mist. Looking at the two clusters of immortal-level origins, Zhou Yun pondered the conditions for sending Shen Tian's beings to the Great World. Pengyun merchant ships would certainly not help unconditionally. Below, when the Enchantress and the Bone Demon saw the Heavenly Venerable and Blood Demon's bodies explode, their bodies trembled violently, and an uncontrollable fear appeared in their eyes. "Dead," the Enchantress murmured softly. The Celestial Venerable and Blood Demon died just like that, silently and without leaving a trace. Taiyuan Great World, Qingyuan Sacred Land. Inside a large hall, tens of thousands of tokens were displayed. Inside the third level, there are hundreds of tokens, each bearing a golden mark that emits a bright golden light. At that moment, the golden seal on one of the tokens dimmed considerably. Although it hasn't completely faded, it shines like a firefly compared to the other tokens. The disciple on duty in the main hall noticed the situation immediately, looked up sharply, checked the token, and then ran out of the hall. These golden seals and tokens all represent core disciples. The core disciples of Qingyuan Holy Land are qualified to compete for the position of Holy Sun, and each one is extremely important to Qingyuan Holy Land. Such a change of events must be reported to the elders immediately. A short while later, an old man appeared on the third floor of the main hall. Zhou Yun, isn't he guarding the Shen Tian world? The elder frowned slightly. The Shen Tian world failed to advance to a great world and is now just a small world. What danger could it possibly encounter? Behind him, the garrison disciple came running up, panting. The elder was walking too fast. He couldn't keep up. I had just arrived in front of the elder and hadn't even had a chance to breathe a sigh of relief when I heard the elder's voice in my ear. Go check on the disciples who are guarding Shen Tian alongside Zhou Yun. Yes. The disciple guarding the area respectfully turned and left. The elder waved his hand, took the source token, and probed into the imprint within to sense it. What on earth is going on? I've never encountered this before. This golden seal only goes out when a disciple dies, and this is the first time he has ever encountered it with such dim light. Eccentric. A short while later, the guarding disciple returned. He respectfully replied, "Elder, the blood nether token is the same. The Enchantress and the white bone have not changed." "All right, you can go now." "Yes." The elder's palm flashed with light, and a message was sent out. "This matter is not significant. It's merely a resource world and insignificant to the Qingyuan Holy Land. But the reasons behind this need to be clarified. Once the other elders, who are skilled in divination, come to calculate, the truth will eventually come to light. Could a small Shen Tian world possibly withstand the deductions of the Qingyuan Holy Land?" After the news spread, another old man walked out from the space next to him. "Shiman, what's the matter?" "Naturally, something strange must have happened, otherwise I wouldn't have sent you here," Shiman said, handing the token in his hand to the other party. Xingnan took it and frowned slightly when he saw its dull luster. He then unfolded his hand, and the token floated in his palm. "Let me do some calculations," Xingnan said with a relaxed expression, his eyes sparkling as if he had encountered something interesting. They cultivated for countless years, reaching the immortal venerable realm, and each seclusion lasted for millions of years, which was quite boring. Now I've finally come across something that interests me. Xingnan also became somewhat interested. Looking at the other person's expression, Shiman joked, "It's just a small world, and you're getting all worked up." Xingnan waved his hand. "It is precisely because this is a small world that I can act freely. If it were a large world, I would not dare to make any predictions casually, or I would suffer a severe backlash if I was not careful." Shiman nodded. "That's true. In the great world of Taiyuan, other major powers all have methods to deal with the deductions, or they can deduce some strange items, which are often forbidden existences. If you are not careful, you will suffer a backlash and be severely injured, or even die and your life will be destroyed." Xingnan channeled a stream of immortal power into it, probing along the source of the soul imprint. Shiman shook his head slightly upon seeing this. He could tell that the other party wasn't taking it seriously. It only used the simplest tracking technique, but it should be enough to find the source of the image. Boom! The next moment, a grey mist vortex condensed on the token, continuously absorbing Xingnan's immortal power. Xingnan's expression changed drastically, as if the token in his hand was a bottomless pit. Moreover, it was firmly stuck to his palm and he couldn't shake it off at all. Quick, help me. Chapter 439 Forbidden, the Enchantress's Choice. Shiman's expression changed drastically upon seeing this, and he did not understand what was going on. Xingnan is an immortal venerable. What could a small Shen Tian realm possibly do to harm him? Then he raised his hand and sent a burst of immortal power toward the token. But the next moment, Shiman understood Xingnan's feelings. The immortal power is directly connected to the token, flowing into it continuously, making it impossible to break free. Xingnan turned to look at Shiman. You. He didn't expect that even Shiman would feel the same way. The two exchanged a glance, their eyes filled with shock, and simultaneously turned to look at the token. What exactly exists behind this token? Why is it so terrifying? A bad feeling rose in Xingnan's heart. He entered the Tao through deduction. The only things that could make him feel so strange were those forbidden things. Could there really be unknown taboos behind the Shen Tian realm? Xingnan turned to look at Shiman and shouted, "Cut off the arm!" What? Before Shiman could ask why, a flash of light appeared, and Xingman had already severed his arm and fallen to the ground. Holding his broken arm, he looked at Shiman, who was still hesitating, and shouted urgently, "Hurry! Don't hesitate." If his guesses are true, and they really are beings who have advanced to a higher level, then they are likely to perish here. Hurry up! Hearing Xingnan's shouts again, Shiman gritted his teeth, no longer delaying, cut off his own arm and turned away. The token, which had been floating in the air, fell to the ground after it lost the support of the immortal power. Thump, thump. It makes a crisp sound. Shiman used his immortal power to heal his injuries, his face pale. This time, the injuries were extremely serious. Their arms grew back, but the injuries were not so easy to heal. For an immortal body, any loss is simply the loss of its primordial power. It will probably take hundreds of thousands of years to recover the power of origin that was lost this time. Shiman's eyes were full of doubt. Xingnan, what exactly did you discover? Xingnan's expression was extremely serious just now, which made him feel a little scared. That feeling of utter helplessness I just experienced. I've only ever felt it with forbidden beings. A flicker of fear crossed Xingnan's eyes. Do you know what a forbidden being is? Upon hearing this, Shiman's pupils contracted slightly, and he secretly swallowed. Trembling, he said, "Forbidden? Of course I know. But Shen Tian is merely a minor." Xingnan looked up, interrupting the other person from continuing. "I can't be wrong about my perception. Fortunately, I wasn't too serious this time, only using a simple tracking technique. If I had used a true deduction to investigate thoroughly, I might." Taboos are not a realm of cultivation, but rather a special existence born from them. They are the manifestation of the rules, transcending the rules and beyond their comprehension. Xingnan took a deep breath. This matter is no longer something the two of us can decide. Let's report it to higher authorities. The existence of taboos in Shentian is a very serious matter. The key issue is that Shentian is a lower realm under the jurisdiction of Qingyuan Holy Land, and it is unknown whether this will have an impact on Qingyuan Holy Land. Even in the vast world, taboos are something that no major power wants to touch. Moreover, the Shen Tian realm almost became a great world. They were all wondering how Shen Tian advanced. It now seems to be related to taboo. They were wrong about that, but it was a lucky accident that made them realize there was a terrifying existence in the Shen Tian heaven. At this moment, inside the main hall of the Qingyun Holy Land, the Azure Origin Saint Lord sat upright above, with invisible laws manifesting around him, making him seem like the embodiment of rules. The Azure Origin Saint Lord is a true Tao ancestor. After listening to Xingnan and Shimon's account, he frowned slightly. Normally, unless there is something important, these people would not dare to bother him. Forbidden? These are all just your guesses. The Holy Lord Qingyuan's gaze was piercing, and everyone in the hall dared not meet his eyes, lowering their heads in disapproval. Xingnan, immediately activate the Southern Dipper Star Derivation Array and deduce the entire Shen-Tian realm. Can. The Holy Lord of Qingyuan raised his hand to stop the other party from continuing. With me here, what are you afraid of? So what if it's forbidden? I will take action. Xingnan breathed a slight sigh of relief upon hearing this, but still felt a vague unease in her heart. However, he could not refuse the Holy Lord's order, so he could only go and summon the disciples within the deduction peak. To be on the safe side, he even planned to bring in the other peak masters and elders as well. The saying goes, many hands make light work. The more people there are, the less risk he will bear. Xingnan was secretly delighted, feeling that her decision was very wise. Meanwhile, Zhou Yun, who was pondering the problem, frowned slightly. Open the message panel, and you'll see a wisp of fairy energy and 2 arms. Where did this come from? It doesn't look like someone redeemed it. After examining it, Zhou Yun raised an eyebrow. Did the people of the upper realm realize it so quickly? Since you're speculating about the Pengyun merchant ship, then keep speculating. Zhou Yun was not worried at all about whether he could deduce the Pengyun merchant ship. Pengyun merchant ship is an existence that cannot be predicted. Any creature that attempts to deduce the whereabouts of the Pengyun merchant ship will suffer a backlash. These 2 arms seem to belong to a high level of cultivation. They're quite a nice thing. I wonder if the other party will continue to make calculations? Zhou Yun thought to himself. He hoped the other party would perform another calculation, perhaps gaining further insights. The creatures that had been watching Zhou Yun closed their eyes again, and no one dared to approach or disturb him, standing quietly in place waiting. As news spread that it was possible to travel to the upper realm, more and more creatures are gathering here, all wanting to hear about the conditions for going to the upper realm. In the crowd, Xiu walked up to the enchantress. She had already heard the news of the deaths of 2 Yuan Tianzhen and Xue Ming. During this time, she got along quite well with the enchantress, and the 2 gradually became friends. Ultimately, the only one who truly tormented her was Xue Ming. Moreover, the myriad manifestations' heavenly palace was destroyed by people from the upper realm, so she should thank these people from the upper realm for avenging her. Don't worry, as long as you stay inside the Pengyun merchant ship, nothing will happen. The alluring woman nodded with a complicated expression. This is the only way we can do it now. I can't think of any other solutions for the time being. Could it be that they have sided with the people of Shen-Tian? The idea only flashed through my mind for a moment. As a person from the Taiyuan Great World, she was very clear about the Great World's foundation, which was far beyond what Shen-Tian could match. Even if these mysterious beings enter the Great World, they won't cause any trouble. It's not time to make a choice yet. The enchanting woman's gaze fell upon Huang Sui. She knew that the old man was the leader of Shen-Tian. Let's hear the conditions for going to Shen-Tian first. Maybe she can return to the Taiyuan Great World through this method? In Mei Nu's view, the situation is not yet hopeless. She still has many options. However, she was more inclined to stay with Pengyun merchant ship. Chapter 440 Restrictions on Traveling to the Great World. Ahead, Zhou Yun slowly opened his eyes and looked down at the creatures below. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. Many creatures turned to look at Zhou Yun, their eyes gleaming with intense light, their expressions extremely focused. They all knew that the conditions required to travel to the Great World would be explained next. This is a very important matter concerning their future. Many creatures became tense. Seeing this, Zhou Yun smiled slightly and introduced directly. Next, I will talk about 3 points. First, any living being can freely travel to the Taiyuan Great World, for free, but... The expressions of the many creatures turned solemn. They knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch, And the conditions that followed were the key. In the crowd, the enchantress and the skeleton stood taut. The great world that the Shen Tian beings went to was indeed the Taiyuan Great World, as they had guessed before. After all, the Taiyuan Great World is a directly subordinate upper realm of the Shen Tian realm. It's just a small world invading the larger world. Such a thing would seem inconceivable to any living being in the vast world. The enchantress's eyes brightened slightly as she noticed Zhou Yun's mention of any living being. I don't know if this includes people from outside the community. Zhou Yun's voice came from ahead again. However, each return trip requires 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals. Moreover, only Shen Tian beings can travel to the Great World. After all, for beings from the outside world to travel to the Taiyuan Great World via the Pengyun merchant ship, it is equivalent to crossing the boundary twice. Upon hearing this, the beings from the other worlds all sighed. They longed to venture into the wider world and seek their fortunes. But they were not born of the mysterious heavens, and this opportunity ultimately did not belong to them. The goddess was taken aback, realizing that this method of returning to the great world was useless. Only Shen Tianqing's expression changed slightly. They only noticed the price. The price to return is 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals. There is indeed no such thing as a free lunch in this world. 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals are equivalent to 1 trillion high-grade spirit stones, which is equivalent to a low-grade innate treasure. This is not something that just any living being can produce. Only beings at the immortal level or above are qualified to travel to the great world. Many beings below the immortal level clenched their fists secretly, their eyes filled with resentment. Is there really no other way? With the abundant resources of the world, they knew that even a small amount could elevate their cultivation level. Huang Sui, on the other hand, breathed a slight sigh of relief after hearing about the restrictions imposed on Pengyun merchant ships. Huang Yan had already told him this before. The remaining 2 people from the Qingyuan Holy Land are inside the Pengyun merchant ship. If they are allowed to return to the upper realm via the Pengyun merchant ship, it will inevitably affect the subsequent plans. He believed that with the Pengyun merchant ship protecting him, the Shen Tian realm would definitely be safe. But if the beings of the upper realms were to learn of Shen Tian's plan, wouldn't Shen Tian's holy spirit be like a lamb entering a tiger's den if it went to the great world? Even in a famine, one will not be arrogant. At present, Shen Tian does not have the strength to contend with the great world. They could only sneak into the great world to resell Pengyun merchant ship resources and earn a lot of resources. Develop Shen Tian and enhance its strength. Huang Sui turned his head and looked at Shen Hong. Think carefully about how to collect some resources from the creatures that have entered the great world. Upon hearing this, Shen Hong immediately understood Senior Huang Sui's thoughts. Developing Shen Tian certainly shouldn't be something that Senior Huang Sui has to do all the work for. They only have 10,000 years. Only by pooling the strength of everyone can they gather more resources. But all living beings are selfish, and perhaps some beings are willing to contribute to the development of Shen Tian. But most living beings would certainly only want to increase their own strength. Yes, Senior. Shen Hong listened intently from then on, his mind racing with thoughts. He knew that Senior Huang Sui wanted to use a tactful approach, without forcing the others. Second, open the exchange tower, not limited to beings from Shen Tian, but also including beings from other worlds. Whoosh! A commotion erupted throughout the hall as the Pengyun merchant ship exchange tower was opened. This is indeed a very important thing for all living beings. They were extremely envious of the treasures on Pengyun merchant ship, but most of the treasures above the 7th rank were subject to restrictions. Their only options were to participate in auctions or gamble in the Tower of Desire. There were no other ways to obtain it. At the same time, most living beings also noticed Zhou Yun's words. The other beings in the world. They had long suspected that the Pengyun merchant ships were connected to other worlds, but it was the Lord of Pengyun who brought this up himself. Many calm creatures suppressed their excitement and looked up at Zhou Yun. They knew there would definitely be limitations. It's definitely not that simple to freely exchange items on the Pengyun merchant ship. A smile flashed in Zhou Yun's eyes. Of course, there were restrictions. There are some restrictions on the exchange. They've arrived. Upon hearing this, the many creatures trembled. You can exchange items across different tiers, but you'll need to use Pengyun points to cover the price difference. A second-tier low-grade item plus the corresponding Pengyun points can be exchanged for a second-tier high-grade treasure. However, to exchange for a Tier 3 treasure, one must use a Tier 2 top-grade item plus the corresponding Pengyun points. Upon hearing this, many creatures frowned. They all understood what Zhou Yun meant. There was indeed profit to be made in this. As for the immortals during famine years, they were all pondering how to exchange for a chaos treasure, which would require at least one top-grade chaos spiritual treasure plus the difference in Pengyun points. Everyone nodded silently, as long as they could exchange for treasures. Otherwise, they can only look on with envy at the items in the center of the exchange tower. Now, although there are some restrictions, at least there are ways to exchange them. Third, the journey to the Great World is a random teleportation, and the dangers involved are unknown. You might be sent into a perilous place as soon as you are teleported in. A flicker of fear crossed the eyes of many creatures, and their desire to travel to the Great World vanished considerably. Previously, they only thought that the Great World had abundant resources and many opportunities waiting for them, but they never thought that the Great World was also full of dangers. Not only are the creatures there stronger than them, but there are also countless dangerous places. If you encounter a desperate situation immediately after being teleported there, you will truly perish. Many creatures looked at Zhou Yun with worried expressions. I'd like to hear if Pengyun Merchant Shipping has any solutions. Noticing the worry in everyone's eyes, Zhou Yun smiled and said, although Pengyun Merchant Ship cannot protect your safety in the Great World, it has launched some heartwarming services. First, you can go anywhere at random, it's free. Secondly, you can specify where to go, and the price is 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals. Many beings were taken aback. Another 10,000 low-grade immortal crystals. This was not something an ordinary person could afford. Most beings below the immortal level have given up. This opportunity to go to the Great World is destined to be out of their reach. They might not even be able to afford the return trip. They can only remain in the Great World forever.